Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. John, GT Gold released drill results on Monday and the market headed south. Were the results disappointing, or are investors fleeing the cold winds of winter in the Golden Triangle?
It's a little too soon to flee the arrival of winter because companies can work to the end of October, and the results, of course, will keep coming right into December. So the inevitable arrival of winter should not yet be a reason for a stock to sell off. The company put out a news release on Monday for 6 holes from the Saddle South zone, which continue to be good. It's more of the same, not quite the 2 to 3 ounce intervals we saw in the earlier holes, but still good numbers showing that we have a very well mineralized gold silver structural zone, and these are still the shallower holes. This is the first 16 holes out of 50 core holes that have been drilled, and they've intersected mineralization to a vertical depth of 500 meters, over at least a 350 meter strike length. So we will be getting news in batches between now and probably early December. What the market did not like was the results for the 2 holes they drilled into the Saddle North zone, and they were spaced about 440 meters apart. We've got a similar gold in soil geochemical anomaly. We've got an associated IP anomaly indicating a sulfide system, but there we only got less than a meter intervals of less than 10 gram per gold. Not the high grades nor thicknesses that we are seeing in the Saddle South zone. And last week I mentioned that, well, if they got good results, the market would basically double the potential of this system. Now, these are just 2 pinpricks into the system, basically picked where it's convenient to set up the drill. Because the Saddle North zone is at a lower elevation, they can continue to drill there longer than they can at the Saddle South, where the wind is absolutely howling, threatening to blow the rigs right off the mountain. So the sell-off, I think, was a knee-jerk reaction to the disappointment that the North Saddle Zone has not delivered in spades the way the Saddle South. However, it's not the end of the story for Saddle North, and we still have 24 holes to come, more than that, 34 holes to come for the Saddle South zone. So winter should not be the excuse for the stock going down. GT Gold has potential to still surprise the market before it does succumb to the chill of winter.
Arizona Silver generated quite a bit of excitement in late spring, but won the award for the most brutal market sell-off this year in response to bad drill results. Colder weather may be bad news for the Golden Triangle, but in Arizona, it's good news for drillers. What is Arizona Silver planning for the Ramsey project this fall?
Arizona Silver has done some more IP surveys in the western deep target area, which was west of that magnetic anomaly, which they drilled earlier this year, based on the hypothesis that this was a down-dropped portion of the Ramsey silver vein. That was an out-and-out bust. There was no meaningful silver mineralization within that magnetic anomaly. But to the west of it, a significant IP anomaly shows up indicating some sort of sulfide system, and it's about 200 meters deep at the northern end of the 3 lines, and about 100 meters deep on the southern line. And it's a fairly substantial size of an anomaly. So they are going to be drilling 1 hole 250 to 300 meters into this anomaly just to see what is going on there. They have a suspicion that the Ramsey system was detached from this sulfide system and faulted eastwards. So if this is the case, then there could be a lot of mineralized sulfides at depth, and we could have a new discovery. I've argued that although the magnetic mag anomaly hypothesis turned out to be a big bust, if the company had not developed this idea and taken the risk to do this blind through gravel drilling program, in setting up for that, they would never have done the IP surveys which brought to light this blind target to the west, which could be something very significant, such as the maybe the San Manuel copper deposit in Arizona. The other part of the program that they're going after is they drilled a couple holes at the end of the spring season to the east of the Ramsey vein. The Ramsey vein is supposed to be dipping steeply, and they were hoping to intercept the down dip extension. Instead, what they discovered was that the vein system seems to flatten. It's missing the very high-grade narrow core, but they did get sort of 2 ounce plus intervals over significant widths at a depth that's still within reach of open pitting, and it heads eastward in an area where there's alteration at surface. So they'll be poking 4 or 5 holes, shallow holes, into this area in an effort to see if indeed they may have to the east of the Ramsey vein what they were hoping to find to the west in the downdropped area.
We'll have more Discovery Watch with John Kaiser right after the break.
I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain's Brunswick property is located in the Rideout Shear Zone in Ontario. With grab samples running as high as 32 grams per ton gold, a drill program will commence this spring to test the numerous targets located by recent groundwork. For more information, visit our website, rmroyalty.com.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with John Kaiser. John, Scandium International announced last week that shareholders approved the acquisition of a 20% interest in the Ningen project, but the stock has slumped. Is the debut of Peter and Chris Evanson a big flop?
Unfortunately, the debut of the Evanson show has been delayed until November 30th because apparently Scandium International still needs to complete some important paperwork related to the transaction. This could take a few weeks, or it could take another couple months, and the market has reacted negatively to the way the company presented the news release. On Monday, they had the 11th. They had the shareholder meeting in Vancouver. Some of my subscribers showed up and listened to an hour-long teleconference with George Putnam and came away, yes, everything's on track, wonderful. This is a key milestone needed to consolidate the interests of the Evanson family with that of the rest of the company. And then the next day, the company puts out this very brief, terse news release saying that everything was approved and we have postponed the closing until November 30th with no explanation given. They did not bother to decorate the news release with other stuff about how they're working on offtake agreements, which in fact they are, and whatever other things are there. It just came across like there was something wrong. And of course, this is a blue chip board of directors, big company people. They don't think of the way that retail investors and even sophisticated investors involved in speculative markets think. So they had no idea that the market would think that this was a big deal. Apparently, it is not a big deal. We have yet to see what the Evansons can do once they are fully on board. Company continues to work on offtake agreements, and I get the sense that they are a lot closer to announcing one or more of them than they have been in the past. And certainly, if between now and November they do announce an offtake agreement, then the job of Peter and Chris Evanson to assist with raising $100 million to put the Ningen project into production, that job becomes a lot easier to the extent that they could just as well have stayed at 20% and just funded their share. So watch for the offtake agreement and just be patient and see what that everything comes together over the next couple of months.
John, a couple of weeks ago, you published a report on a bottom fish called Minerium Gold, which has started drilling in the Alamos silver project in Mexico. Is that a junior to watch for a discovery?
Minerium Gold is drilling a very interesting silver prospect in Mexico. The company acquired it last year. It's in a district from which it was called La Quintera back in the old days. From about 1600 to 1920, the Spanish mined 200 million ounces of silver from a series of near vertical veins, which ran, over 60 ounces per ton silver. Eventually they petered out at a depth of 500-700 meters, and things shut down. But the ownership of this land position has been fragmented, so there was a junior group which maybe 15 years ago attempted to do something on a portion of the system, but it was only in the past decade that a family carefully stitched together all the pieces to create a single package which allows for a fresh exploration approach. Now, Peter McGaw is one of the key geological visionaries for Minerium. The CEO is Darrell Rader, but the geological brains lie with Peter McGaw, whose big success is Mag Silver, through which he correctly figured out where there would be a parallel vein system to the Fresnillo deposits under this younger cover rock, and that's now in a joint venture with Fresnillo being developed. One is Scipio. It's a huge discovery, lots of strike to that vein. It's an unusual vein in that the silver mineralization is continuous along the entire strike of that system. Now, he thinks that in the Quintera district, which is now called the Alamos project, that this is part of a parallel system of sort of north striking veins, and that what the Spanish focused on was a series of veins which happened to daylight, which is, so they find this high-grade silver exposed at surface, and then they just follow it down. Now, the project has never been drilled, and the work that Peter McGaw has done is that he's looked at the surrounding geology and said, you know what, it looks like there has been a series of north-south faults, parallel faults, which have dropped and uplifted adjacent blocks of rock. He compares it to a piano keyboard where you press one key down and the next one's up, you press another one down. And this is important for the epithermal model because they have a vertical zonation for the silver mineralization. And in the case of the Quintera vein, this had been popped up, and of course Mother Nature hates anything that sticks its head up and has shaved it down through erosion. And the other stuff is still at the original depth. And all they have there is some sort of very weak mineralization as a trace along surface. So Peter McGaw thinks that there are multiple parallel north-south veins, and he's mapped out the traces for them. He even speculates there are blind parallel veins also in it, and they've just started a 5,000-meter drill program whose purpose is to drill angle holes through the original vein area to see if there's any blind ones that were missed, but to pass into the adjacent rock blocks and intersect the high-grade veins that should be parallel, which have the bonanza zones at a deeper level. In fact, he believes that the bonanza zone is missing from the Quintera vein, but should still be preserved in any parallel vein. So this is a very high-stakes program because, unlike the Juanicipio vein system, these veins are characterized by ore shoots, high-grade ore shoots that tend to occur where the fault structure that carries the vein undergoes a jog, a flexure, which creates an opening which allows the fluids to come through and really fill it up with mineralization. You have to basically systematically drill until you intersect these chutes, and then you develop those as a mine, and you pretty much leave the lower grade stuff in between alone. So this program right now is purely conceptual. If he gets lucky and tags right into one of these ore chutes, well, that's fantastic. The market will will really respond, because one can easily see that if the piano key hypothesis is correct, we're talking about a couple 100 million ounce potential. If there are multiple blind vein sets also, we're talking in a 500 million plus type of a target. So this is a very high stakes, high reward type of target. And between now and the end of the year, what Peter McGaw hopes to see are intersections that confirm the presence of the vein structure, confirming that indeed these downdrop blocks or relatively lower system are in fact present, and that they are mineralized with silver. It doesn't have to be big thicknesses or super high grades, just enough to say, yes, there are parallel veins, they have been pumped by the fluids, and that sets the stage for a major follow-up drill program, which would be to systematically drill off these blind veins and put together a resource and ultimately redevelop the old Quintera camp as a major high-grade silver mining district.
We'll have final thoughts from John Kaiser when Discovery Watch returns.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. A work program is planned for our Finland property that contains diamond-bearing kimberlite. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ADD, and the Frankfurt Exchange, symbol 82A1. Please visit our website at arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, Novo Resources will be presenting at the Denver Gold Forum on Monday, and that presentation will include a live feed from the Carertha project in Australia, and we hope we said it right because we probably didn't, where it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning. What could this be possibly about?
This is very unusual, what the company is planning. I talked to Quentin yesterday, and he was in Australia on a site tour. He's going to be flying back for this Denver presentation. It's at 10:15 a.m. in the morning. It's going to be live streamed, and they are going to include in it a feed live from the property. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's insane. It's going to be 1 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be pitch dark. Anytime anybody tries to coordinate anything electronic with a presentation to a big audience, and this is going to be a very big audience. I mean, the Denver Gold Show is the gold miner show in the world. This is the biggest show. Everybody's going to be there. He's going to be unveiling this story. So what could he possibly show in a live feed from the property with a bunch of floodlights? I mean, he's got some 35-ton excavator on there on the Purdys Reward project. They've been on there now several weeks, stripping and trenching, cleaning this off. But who cares about a bunch of trucks in the dark with floodlights on them moving around? So I'm thinking, he said, make sure you don't miss this. And I'm thinking there's got to be something really interesting in this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have the real equivalent of a disco ball, where when the floodlights shine on these exposed conglomerate beds, you're going to see all these gleaming spots all over the place. And if in fact they do have something like that and they pull it off, you can bet that that's going to be one hell of a jaw dropper in Denver when all these gold miners are sitting there wondering what all this BS about WITS 2.0 is all about, and this company, which in the case of the Purdys Reward, it has an implied project value approaching $2 billion right now based on 200 million shares fully diluted and a 50% interest. Now, this project is starting to gain a lot of credibility. Today the stock was up over 50 cents, closed back over $5. A couple of days ago, Artemis Resources, the partner, announced a $12 million Australian financing. at 20 cents. That puffs their market issue fully diluted up to about $580 million. Based on 50%, they're now sporting a $250 million valuation, but relatively low compared to Novo, which might explain why Sprott Capital Partners is putting up $4 million of that, while the UK investment firm that has been doing private placements for the last couple of months in Artemis is doing another significant chunk. Sprott Capital is more the Rick Rule arm of the Sprott global relationship. Eric Sprott owns his stake in Novo directly and indirectly through Kirkland Lake Gold. So this looks like the other part of Sprott, the brokerage firm and its clients, getting on board via Artemis and getting a piece of this action. And what can we expect in the next while? Well, they're not going to start doing their core drilling until September 27th, which is next Wednesday. And this will be small diameter core designed to just basically map out where are these conglomerate beds. You know, Quinton said they're from 2 meters to 20 meters thick, and while you imagine these beds as being these flat things that dip southeastwards into the basin, they are in fact have local topographical depressions. So in some places they'll be thicker, in some places they'll be thinner. And if his precipitation theory is correct, it doesn't really matter about the thickness because the deeper parts will have had a faster rate of sedimentation. So the gold grains would have had a chance to grow there just as effectively as in the thinner portions where the sedimentation would have been slower. And of course, the large diameter drilling, which will retrieve bulk samples of 17.25 inch wide core, or not core, but bulk sample, that won't start till the middle of October. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he's going to show us on Monday morning through his live feed from Australia. Now, one other interesting tidbit that I picked up talking to him is that, the granting of the 100% owned claims is coming in a lot faster than he anticipated. He had figured it would probably be another 6 months before they have the title granted, so they can do actually work on the down dip from where Comet Well and Purdys Reward is. He indicates that they are starting to come in bits and pieces, which has surprised him. He can't do anything yet because he's going to take at least 3 months to properly understand what is going on the Purdys Reward and the Comet Well ground where these conglomerate beds daylight. But once that's figured out, assuming that they can prove that the fine disseminated portion is systematically distributed throughout these beds in addition to the gold nuggets, if they can then step out probably within 3 months, starting in the new year, and start to demonstrate the WITS 2.0 scenario, which is that this isn't just a localized gold deposit, perhaps derived from some nearby lode deposit, but in fact this is a Witwatersrand style system, which is laterally extensive and down dip extensive. But anyways, everybody should be watching Monday morning to see whether he can technically pull off this special Karatha show and what it is that he's going to try and show the audience in Denver.
John, thanks a lot for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been speaking with John Kaiser, his website, johnkaiser.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.